Significant matters that were discussed or subject to correspondence with management may include such matters as significant events or transactions that occurred during the year, business conditions affecting the entity, and business plans and strategies that may affect the ROMM, concerns about management's consultations with other accountants on accounting or auditing matters, discussions or correspondence in connection with the initial or recurring appointment of the auditor regarding accounting practices, the application of auditing standards or fees for audit or other services, significant matters on which there was disagreement with management except for initial differences of opinion because of incomplete facts or preliminary information that are later resolved by the auditor obtaining additional relevant facts or information. The agreed terms of the audit engagement are required to be recorded in an audit engagement letter or other suitable form of written agreement and include, among other things, reference to the expected form and content of the auditor's report. Communication in this respect is intended to inform those TCWG about circumstances in which auditor's report may differ from its expected form and content or may include additional information about the audit that was performed. Circumstances in which the auditor is required or may otherwise consider it necessary to include additional information in the auditor's report in accordance with the essays and for which communication with TCWG is required include when the auditor expects to modify the opinion in the auditor's report in accordance with SA 705. A material uncertainty relating to going concern is reported in accordance with SA 570. Key audit matters are communicated in accordance with SA 701. If the auditor considers it necessary to include the emphasis of matter paragraph or other matter paragraph in accordance with SA 706 or is required to do so by other essays. If the auditor has concluded that there is an uncorrected material misstatement of other information in accordance with SA 720. In such circumstances, the auditor may consider it useful to provide those charged with governance with a draft of the auditor's report to facilitate a discussion of how such matters will be addressed in the auditor's report. Communication of auditor's independence in case of listed entities. In the case of listed entities, the auditor shall communicate with TCWG a statement that the engagement team and others in the firm as appropriate, the firm and when applicable network firms have complied with relevant ethical requirements regarding independence, and all relationships and other matters between the firm, network firms and the entity that in the auditor's professional judgment may reasonably be thought to bear on independence. This shall include total fees charged during the period covered by the financial statements for audit and non-audit services provided by the firm and network firms to the entity and components controlled by the entity. These fees shall be allocated to categories that are appropriate to assist those charged with governance in assessing the effective services of the independence of the auditor and the related safeguards that have been applied to eliminate identified threats to independence or reduce them to an acceptably low level. Communication process. The auditor shall communicate with TCWG the form, timing and expected general content of communications. The auditor shall communicate in writing with TCWG regarding significant findings from the audit. If in the auditor's professional judgment, oral communication would not be adequate. Written communication need not include all the matters that arose during the course of the audit. The auditor shall communicate in writing with TCWG regarding auditor independence when required in case of listed entities. The auditor shall communicate with TCWG on a timely basis. Adequacy of the communication process. The auditor shall evaluate whether the two-way communication between the auditor and those charged with governance has been adequate for the purpose of the audit. If it has not, the auditor shall evaluate the effect, if any, on the auditor's assessment of the ROMM and ability to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence and shall take appropriate action. Documentation. Where matters required by SC 260 to be communicated or communicated orally, the auditor shall include them in the audit documentation and when and to whom they were communicated. Where matters have been communicated in writing, the auditor shall retain a copy of the communication as a part of audit documentation. SA 299, Joint Audit of Financial Statements. We'll see that in the next podcast. Thank you. Have a nice day.